Hello and welcome to Digital Nomad Sessions. My name is Mitch. I am the host of Digital Nomad Sessions, but today I thought I'd dive in and share some really epic content with you around how to create a massive following of both followers and also customers, because over the last 4 years, I've managed to build 2 businesses to 6 figures now, completely digital businesses that has allowed me to have a pretty amazing lifestyle along the way. And there's a lot of things that I've learned that you can definitely benefit from, because I've wasted so much time, I've wasted so much money, and I could definitely be in a way better place than what I am right now if I was to looking back in hindsight and looking at all of those places that I've wasted time and money. So the purpose of me creating this presentation is to give you just straight up pure value of what you can do in order to not make the same mistakes that I have, and hopefully have way more success than I do, and in a much faster time, so that you can go out there and live the lifestyle of your dreams and travel the world and adventure and live and work from anywhere that you want. So in case you don't know me yet, then as you can see right now, I do live in a Mercedes Sprinter camper van. I don't know how or why this sort of showed up in my life, but I'm super grateful that it did. And I actually just it's actually just coming up on my 12-month anniversary living in this van right now, and it's been filled with a lot of amazing places and sunsets and sunrises and places that I just never really dreamed of. And like, the beauty of this world is absolutely crazy, and you can see a different perspective from a van. But it's also had a few challenges along the way. It definitely makes building a business sometimes a little bit harder here and there. I sometimes always feel like I just want to be at the beach, which definitely makes it hard, but it's been really fun, and I'm starting to navigate those, I guess, challenges that do pop up in a much better fashion, and starting to make a whole lot more progress. So let me just give you a quick overview of what we're going to be talking about today. There's going to be 3 things that I want to cover, and then I'm going to dive into some of the mistakes. So test and iterate is going to be the first one. Spend more time on revenue generating activities is the next one. And then creating loyal fans. And as you can see, guys, you don't have to be fancy. I think let's dive into one of my biggest mistakes. Trying to be fancy. You don't have to be fancy. Like, I'm doing this in text edit on Mac, and I'm sharing my screen completely. Sure, I could have got some slides designed and all of that type of stuff, but you don't have to be fancy from the start. I've seen plenty of business owners out there making millions of dollars doing the exact same thing. They're writing landing page copy and just sending it to people on a Google Doc, or they're just I've actually purchased a course for $1,000 where the guy does the entire outline of the course in text edit, exactly like what I'm doing here. And it's probably been one of the most valuable courses that I've purchased in my entire life. So the biggest thing that stops people is comparing themselves to others. And sometimes you don't want to be comparing yourself to other people, because you don't know what's happening behind the scenes for them. You don't know how much they're spending on their marketing and their business and their design and all that type of stuff. And you don't know how many people they've got in their team. Most of them probably have a big team behind them that are putting out all of this amazing stuff all the time. Whereas the most important thing for you to do is to just keep showing up and providing really great content with value in it, and not misleading people. I'm very transparent about everything that needs to happen to build a digital business. In fact, if you look at some of the comments that are coming through Digital Nomad Sessions, you'll see that people realize that first of all, they feel the heart that's behind this, and when you feel something, there's a truth element to that, right? Your intuition or your heart doesn't lie, and when you can feel like somebody is telling the truth, you feel it in your body. So I'm definitely upfront about that and completely transparent. There's a lot of times where you're going to feel like you want to give up, but you just got to keep pushing through. And it really comes back to the first point, which is testing and iterating. So the first thing that you do probably won't work. In fact, if I'm being honest, the first 6 things that you do probably won't work. You might make a few $100s here and there, and that's awesome. As soon as you can make $1, you can make $1 million. Like, absolutely. But it just comes down to testing and iterating. So what do I mean by that? Testing means researching what's happening right now online. So let's say that you're in the health niche like I was, and you're testing. So what does that mean? When I started in that space, I went out and I looked at, okay, what's working right now in the health space? There was a few challenges happening. There was a lot of content getting put out, but the most prominent thing in the health space back in that time, and probably still is today, was an online virtual summit. So I was like, okay, that seems pretty interesting. I'm going to continue to do that. So the first one I put out was a complete fail. Had a few hundred people register, made less than $1,000, spent hundreds of hours putting it together. So I was working for literally $1 or $2 or $3 an hour putting that together. But I knew but the feedback that I got was, I can see this working, but I just need to iterate. So that means I need to change some things. I need to look at my positioning of the actual topic first of all. So you need to be looking at what sort of topic or niche are you in. Is it going to be profitable? Is it what people are looking for? And what are the trends right now? So which brings me to point number 3. What are the trends? Right then was when fasting was starting to become a little bit popular. So that's what I lent into. And I remember actually when I was thinking about this, there was a business coach that I followed at the time. He didn't really take one-on-one clients, but every now and then he opened up like 3 or 4 positions. I think I paid him about $150, maybe $200 for 15 minutes of his time. And this is what we talked about, is like the number one thing. And I'm the type of person who I will invest into everything and anything that I need in order to accelerate my business. And some people might think that if you're sitting there thinking, whoa, I think it was actually $197 for 15 minutes of his time. If you're thinking $197 for 15 minutes, that sounds crazy, then that exact mindset is a thing that is stopping you, because it doesn't matter how much time people put into something, it's the value that you get from that. And there was one, and we talked about this fasting summit, he's like, yes, like he saw the trends as well. He knew the health space pretty well, and he's like, that hasn't been done, that's a trend that's growing. I have complete confidence that this is going to work for you. And if it does work, instead of changing all of the time, Mitch, here's what you've got to do. You've got to double down, and you've got to keep doing that. And that was probably the most powerful advice that I got back in that time, because the first one worked pretty well. It went 10 times better than any other summit that we put together. And then when we doubled down on it, we just continued to grow. And every single launch that we did for that particular summit did over $50,000 in that particular launch in that month. So that was pretty life-changing for us at that time. I'd never, which was 75,000 Australian dollars at that time. I would make 75,000 Australian, or less than $75,000 Australian in an entire year. And for us to be able to find something that made that in a single month was super powerful. And then that sort of led us into being able to have a lot more choices. So coming back to testing and iterating, firstly, you're going to find out what doesn't work by failing, and that's fine. That's part of the process. If you're afraid of failure, then you're not going to make it at this game. So you need to get over that and just realize that it's really feedback, right? And you need to just change a few things. The other way to find, aside from trends and what's growing right now, the other way to find what is what your audience want to hear, or what is actually out there that you could potentially be profitable on and build a business around, is what are the questions that people are asking right now. As you came into this summit, you'll realize that the very first email I sent, I asked for a reply, and the number one thing that you're struggling with right now. Now, there's 2 reasons why I did that. Firstly, when you reply to me, there's more chance of the emails going into your inbox, because a lot of the emails don't go into inboxes these days. But secondly, the reason why I want to know that is because I want to create content around that actually serves and helps you, so that hopefully you'll be more engaged, and then there'll be a percentage of people who want to purchase the offers that I put out there as well, because that's business, right? We're here to make money, and the only way to make money long term and be sustainable on that is to provide value for people. So the best way to provide value for people is to help them overcome their biggest challenge right now. So that was the main reason for them, and that comes back to me being completely transparent. I'm absolutely transparent about everything that I do. Too many people will try and hide and put on this facade of like, I'm the go-to person and I know everything and these are the reasons why, and they don't tell you the real reasons why. They just tell you what you want to hear because it sounds easy, right? Whereas I'm completely transparent about what I do and why I do it, and in the hopes that not only are you engaging in those types of things, but so that you can think about it for your own business as well, right? These are things, sometimes it's better to watch what people do rather than what they say, because then you'll understand you'll get a real big insight into actually what's actually happening for their business and how you can actually be successful as well. So if you don't have an audience though, coming back to this, what are the questions that people keep that people keep asking? You can start looking in forums. You can start looking on like places like Quora. You can look on YouTube. What are the most popular pieces of content out there? You can join Facebook groups and look at like what continues to get asked in there. There's so many different ways that you can get out there and find these answers if you don't have an audience yet, but you've just got to put in the time. There's really two ways that you can build a business, and that's through time or money. And money will help solve a lot of your issues. However, in the early days, you don't have money. So you've got to spend time researching instead. And when I say, and the best way to use money if you don't have a lot of time to get this is to spend it on Facebook ads and run people to a survey or to a funnel like this where you can ask them directly. And that would allow you to use your time effectively somewhere else. So testing and iterating is super important, and it never stops, right? Like you could build, and the purpose of testing and iterating is to find product to market fit. So what does that mean? That means you've got a product that your market really want, and it fits in there. You've got the right price point, you've got the right content, you've got the right positioning of your offer, you've got and it's converting well, essentially. So that means you've got a good product to market fit. However, as you grow and as your people grow and your audience grows, it's going to change all of the time. And even if you are selling stuff right now, it doesn't mean that the product to market fit is great. It can be, I've worked with companies that have built to $5 million on an okay product. It was good, it was a hard sell, but they just like burst through brick walls every single day, and they got there. Whereas a really good product market fit should actually pretty much sell itself. So there's always room for testing and iterating, no matter what stage you're at right now, whether you're making $5, $50, $50,000 or $5 million, there's always time to test and iterate. So diving into number 2 now. So spending more time on revenue generating activities. This is probably the thing that holds most people back, and probably the reason why so many people take so long to get to their goals is not spending time on revenue generating activities. The perfect example is me. It took me I think either 18 months or no, it was definitely longer than that. I think it took me 2 to 2.5 years to get to 6 figures in my first business, right? It's because I was so obsessed over design. I was so obsessed over creating different ebooks. I was so obsessed over the membership area and what software I was going to use. I was so obsessed over the latest WordPress plugin that was going to help increase my conversion rates by 1%. And by me distracting myself on that all of the time, I didn't spend time on what really mattered, which is sales and marketing. You need to get people to traffic to your website, and you need to convert them into customers. And that can either be via the phone, or it can be via a landing page, via a Zoom call, via emails, whatever that means for you in your particular business. That's really what you need to do. So instead of me marketing myself and putting myself out there and generating interest in my product, I was stuck on all of that stuff that didn't matter. So fast forward to a few years later, after I sold that business and then started my marketing business, it took 6 months to get to, or a little bit more than 6 months, 6 or 7, probably 7 or 8 months to go from, I had a little bit of revenue, but from full-time focus into building that company, 6 or 7 months to do over 100K in collected revenue. So we were projecting over $200,000, which is what most people talk about when they talk about they build a 6-figure business immediately, but that was in collected revenue. And the reason why is because I focused on sales and marketing. There was a Facebook group that I was a part of. I was in there every day providing value to people. So because I was in front of people every single day, then as soon as they needed help with their marketing, I was the first person that they thought of. And not only that, and then I was really good at building authority with what I've done, because I was super niche focused, and I started getting interviewed on podcasts and things like that. So that built up my authority as well, just by the sheer positioning of being in the media. And when people came to work with me, it was almost a done deal. And then my sales process was was so refined that I would close at least 80% of the people who I got on the phone with. So it was really easy for us to build up that much. I didn't really enjoy that business, which is why I'm not focusing entirely on it now. I have a few clients that I really enjoy working with, and that's good enough for me right now. But basically the reason why I tell this story is because I focused on what matters, and that was marketing myself through providing value to people every single day, and getting on phone calls and having sales conversations with people as often as possible. And that got us to that point. So when you find something that works, you've got to double down on it. Rewinding back to the health business, the fasting summit, as soon as that worked, we doubled down on it. And sure, we wasted a bit of time in between with trying different stuff, but we consistently did that every few months, every probably 4 or 5 months, because we knew that was going to generate the revenue that we needed so that we could try and build out the business. So on that, most content that you do create will be a waste of time, especially if you're focusing on Instagram or Facebook first as your content platforms. It's a massive waste of time, because the content doesn't last very long. You've got to continue to show up every single day. The content that you will create that would give you the most amount of longevity would be on places like YouTube and Pinterest, because they are search engines. And however, 90% of that content that you create will be a waste of time. However, sometimes you've got to do it on those particular ones. The ways you can get around that is to be more strategic in your planning of what's going to actually work based on search engine optimization and keyword research and that type of stuff. If you are interested in me doing a more advanced training on that, then definitely let me know in the Facebook group, because that can be a real game changer for your business. But yeah, a lot of it's not going to work, and that's just the cost of doing business, right? And it comes back to step number 1, which is testing and iterating. But as long as you've got some structure around what are the biggest things that are going to generate you revenue right now, and you focus on that entirely, once you have money, you can start to solve these other problems much easier, because you can hire people and get them to do a lot of the hard work for you. So from like video editing to creating your written words, to posting on social media, to scheduling your YouTube videos, to doing the research of what YouTubes you should be creating. Once you have money, you can invest in these types of things. So that's basically it. And then the final thing that I've got in there is you don't have to do everything. I think, as soon as you do one thing that I thought, as soon as we did start making money, I started looking at some of the big players who had like 7-figure businesses, and I'm like, oh, they're creating these pieces of content and they're doing this type of thing. We need to do that as well. And there's so much that you can do out there in your business that if you don't have structure and, I guess, discipline around what you want to do, then you'll sort of dabble in different things and nothing will really be that successful. So you've got to realize that you can't do everything, and you just got to focus on whatever the things that are going to generate you revenue, the most amount of revenue right now, and continue to be really disciplined on that. So instead of creating content, maybe a better strategy for you is to pitch a whole bunch of podcasts and get on those podcasts so that you can build up more authority. And then once you have more authority, you can start creating more content. And then the final thing I want to talk about is creating loyal fans. And this is a really important part, because especially for your buyers, because a buyer is a buyer. Once you can get someone through that door, they've already committed their credit card to you and their wallet to you and their hard-earned money. So it's a lot easier to get someone who's already purchased from you to purchase again, rather than trying to find someone new to actually purchase from you. So how do you actually do that? Firstly, you got to build a relationship. So how do you do that? Then building that relationship is by showing up regularly. If you were to sell them a product and then you sort of disappear for 6 months before emailing them again about a sale that's coming up, that's not really building a relationship. And the amount of companies that I've seen do that, especially e-commerce companies, where they don't build a relationship in between. So the best way to be doing that is to become really good at email marketing. Something that I dedicated myself to back in the day was writing 1 email a day to my subscribers. Now, sure, it pissed off a few people, but it built up a really solid, loyal community of people who were looking to hear from me. Now, that didn't mean that I was pitching them a product every single day via email. but it was a more of a valuetainment type of email where there was some value in there. It was also entertaining, and it also gave them an insight into my life on a daily basis, or into the front person of the business on a daily basis. So people started to have trust, because they felt like they feel like they know who you are. And so this type of strategy requires, and creating loyal fans typically requires stuff that's not automated. So it's probably another big mistake that I didn't actually put in this presentation, but one of the biggest mistakes people make is trying to automate too much too soon. And if you try and automate too much too soon, it creates a disconnect from your audience, and they don't trust you as much. Whereas, if you've got, a few hundred people, a few thousand people in your audience right now, that's the best time to start building your biggest and most loyal fans, because you do have that time. What would it mean to your business if you created a personalized video for every single one of your subscribers and just asked them how you could help? What would that mean? I'm sure that if I've never seen that happen, but if someone did that to me, I'd be pretty amazed, first of all, and I'd probably reply to them if they were coming from the right place. So how can you do the things that are not scalable in the early days? That's going to create loyal fans. So showing up regularly, maybe that's creating a Facebook group and going live in there every single day, whether there's one person watching, no one watching, or 100 people watching. What would that mean for them to keep seeing you showing up and wanting to serve and continue to provide value? And I think the biggest part of this, and this is where most people fail, is they give expecting something in return too soon. So you might show up for 5 days in a row, nothing really happens, and you get sort of disheartened and you don't do it again. But if you can give continuously without expecting in return, it's naturally just going to happen. It's a law of reciprocity, right? Like, people just want to return the favor to you at some point in time. Do you know what? I've actually purchased programs. I was following this blog for a good 5 years, and this particular person made so much money as an affiliate marketer that he didn't sell any of his products. He just wanted to provide value via this blog, and he built up this massive audience. And finally, when he started offering some affiliate offers that made him money, I bought one of those affiliate offers, not because I needed it, because I felt like I wanted to pay him some money. That's because he provided so much value for so many years without expecting in return. I do know that he eventually went on to launch some products and made about $1 million a year from it, or $2 million a year, but that was still not really enough for him compared to his other business, so he didn't continue that. But that's how easy it can be if you continue to give without expecting in return. And then finally, come from the heart. Like, people can feel, especially this day and age, people can feel where you're coming from. If you're bullshitting people, they're gonna know. Like, there's no ifs or buts about it. And something that I've continuously focused on is looking into my shadow areas, like using certain tools like meditation and like diving into those types of things. I'm also big on psychedelics, from mushrooms, so psilocybin to ayahuasca, to all of those types of things that allow you to bypass the ego, to look at your consciousness from a different perspective, and it allows you to create or to understand where you might be coming from the wrong place in different places, and then hopefully you can integrate something better in the future. And I'm going to dive more into that on my YouTube channel, so if you're not subscribed to YouTube yet, then definitely do that. I've got actually a few amazing trips coming up this year, no pun intended, but coming from the heart is simply just like doing the right thing. If you don't want to get all hippie with me, it just means doing the right thing and not lying to people, not trying to bullshit people, not trying to overpromise, all of those types of things. Is like, just come from this space and everything will eventually work out. And people feel the energy, right? When you're coming from the heart, people are drawn to you rather than you having to like break down barriers to convince people to follow you. People are just naturally drawn to you, and you'll attract the right people who are less who are also in that space, and who are less of a hassle as customers. I know that if I've not been in the right place, I tend to attract that with customers as well, and they're a massive pain in the ass. But that's just a reflection of where I am right now. You know, I take full responsibility of everything that happens in my life, and if someone outside of me is causing me issues, then I know there's an issue within inside myself that I need to clean up. And when I do that, the issues go away. It's like this summit, for example. You guys have been the most amazing audience that I've ever come across in my entire life. Everyone's super appreciative. We've had virtually no issues. I had one link that was pointing in the wrong direction one day, and nobody had an issue with that. They found the other links. Whereas there's been times before where people just complain about everything, and yeah, it's just not fun. So come from the heart and life just becomes so much easier. So they're my 3 things: test and iterate, spend more time on revenue generating activities, and create loyal fans. And that will totally transform your entire life and your entire business. And then a few of the mistakes: try to be fancy. We already talked about that, so I'm not going to continue to dive in that. But the next biggest mistake is taking too much money out of the business too soon. This will kill your business, and especially as digital nomads, that's going to be the biggest challenge that you have, is wanting to travel too soon. And you need to get a big buffer in your business in the early days until you find something that's consistently generating you revenue every single month. And sometimes, you know, taking too much money too soon, that also means you need to stay in a job for a little bit longer than what you think, rather than diving straight into your business. Because if you don't have quite a lot of money saved up, and you've got to invest in not just your business, but then also you've got to live, that can kill your business really quickly. And that's probably the main reason why we could have definitely grown that health business to 7 figures, but instead we chose to travel to Peru to live in Bali, and to spend like ridiculous amounts of money on food every single week and things like that, because we weren't smart enough, essentially. And that was the biggest killer that didn't allow us to scale. You can either have a great lifestyle or you can scale, and you can't have both, unfortunately, or very rarely can you have both. And sometimes it makes more sense to be humble early on and not take any money until you are generating, you know, $500,000, $1 million. Live like I can so happily live either here in my van or in Bali or Thailand or something on $20,000 a year. I can live like a king like that because I don't need a lot. And when you can be in that space of like living on that allows you to invest heavily in your business, and you can scale faster. And by scaling faster, it brings up a whole host of other challenges, but you can often get to a place that you never thought was possible if you do have that, I guess, discipline. So don't take too much money too soon. It might kill your business, so be smart about it. And then early on, the one thing that I wished I did once we found something was working was invest more money in ads. So that sort of ties in with the previous thing of taking too much money too soon. If you have money sitting in the bank, when you find an offer that is working really, really well, you can invest that in advertising. I had a client recently who had an email list of a following of 500 people. He launched his product to those 500 people, made about $6,000 or $7,000. So not a bad return for an email list of 500 people, right? But we put together a summit for him, and because the summit was working really well, we were able to invest super heavily in ads because he was really smart, right? He had himself in a good position. We spent $60,000 in 1 month, grew his email list from 500 people to 22,000 people in a single month. Not only that, but he made over $160,000 that month. He made about another $100,000 the following month with a product launch. So literally changed his business because he was smart, right? He was able to invest in ads because he had a working product and because he was in a good position. And that's the power of digital business. As soon as you have something that's working, you can scale super fast. But you've just got to make sure you've got to be in the position. You've got to be smart enough to see that opportunity. Facebook ads and all sorts of ads are getting more and more expensive every day. So the sooner you can invest in them, if you've got something that is working, then double down on that. You'll definitely look back in a few years' time if you don't do it, and you'll regret it, like I do. I remember getting email subscribers for 50 cents back in the day. These days it's hard to get anything for less than $2 or $3 in the health space and less than $5 in the marketing space. So yeah, invest if you do have something that's working. And then the final one is just being too slow to execute. And this comes back to, it sort of ties in with everything. Trying to be too fancy will make you slow. Wasting time on things that are not generating you revenue will make you slow. Wasting time on content that isn't going to get you to the next place will make you slow. But if you're too slow to execute, you'll miss the wave. And especially with the way that the digital business is changing every single year, once you find something that works that people are doing and that is working right now, then you need to double down and you need to get that out there as quickly as possible. So that comes along with the challenges of us traveling all the time. You've got to be disciplined if you do want to make it. And you know, I don't want to keep harping on this because I don't want you to think that it's too hard. It's hard, but everything is hard. Everything that's worth it is hard in some aspects. But you've got to be disciplined enough to make it work in order to continue living this lifestyle. So execute as quickly as possible. If you have to get help, invest in the virtual assistants and experts to run your ads and all of those types of stuff if you're not good at those types of things, and so that you can execute faster. The more time, like I said, spending time on those revenue generating activities and outsource everything else, it's going to make a massive difference in your business so that you can move faster and take advantage of this time right now. So I guess there's been a lot of things in here that have been maybe off-putting. I definitely didn't intend for it to be that way. There's no better time right now to make as little or as much money that you want in digital business, because it's seriously easier than ever before. There's so many people out there making crazy amounts of money, and it doesn't matter where you come from, what background you're in, your level of education. I'm a high school dropout. I left school when I was 16 years old, you know, so you don't need any type of qualifications that, like traditional education or anything like that, qualifications. You know, I was hired as a marketing manager with no marketing background whatsoever. I just had a doctorate in results, right? I produce results. That's what people want. If you can get a result for people, no one cares about what sort of qualifications you have. So focus on doing that, and everything's going to be fine. I promise you right now, if you're watching this, you have what it takes to make it. You just got to do the work. And I have complete faith that you will make it. I have complete trust that you'll make it. I know that you will. And especially, you know, as you continue to invest in more of the programs and stuff that we put out, then yeah, you'll be amazed at where you'll be in 12 months as long as you're taking action on what you're learning. So I hope this was valuable. I'd love to hear from you in the Facebook group. Make sure you're commenting there. If you want to send me a DM or a personal email, if you don't want to communicate in there, I'd love to hear from you. And yeah, get out there, have some fun along the way, take some action, create the business of your dreams. It's sort of what it's all about. So get in the Facebook group, let me know. If you haven't purchased a digital business accelerator yet, definitely do that, because we're going to be diving deeper into all of this through our live coaching that's coming up soon. So I can't wait to see all of you guys there. See you then. Bye bye.